everyone. Thank you for joining us today. We are on a new platform, and so thank you for joining us in the Back Porch. So, as you may know, over the past 36 years, many of our employees and colleagues, friends, clients have enjoyed time on the front porch with TA to talk about anything from the event industry to recipes and often heart-to-hearts as well. But one thing that you can always expect from TA is that he's a straight shooter and he's going to tell you what he thinks. So we created this series with that in mind now that we all have to meet virtually so that we can bring those conversations to a bigger audience. So here we are. We're here to answer some questions. Just to give you a heads up on where you're seeing us now, you can scroll down just a little bit. There's a Q&A section. We're going to get to those at the end of the program, but go ahead and give us your questions now. And then we have a chat just to the right where you're seeing us now. So we want to hear from you. Tell us what you think and give us those questions.
Well, thank you, Rachel. As you said, we're doing this a little differently. We've been on Facebook here to date, but today we're hosting this on our Alford virtual event space. This is a new service that's being offered to our clients very soon, and it's a part of a full spectrum of virtual platform options. Most importantly, it was developed by Alford with our clients and their special needs in mind, and we're excited to be using this platform today and hope you will share your thoughts with us on it. So this is somewhat our first outing. We did it with employees a week ago, so this is the first time out in the public. And we're looking forward to seeing how it works for y'all and getting y'all's opinion on how that is going.
Yep, absolutely. Reiterate, we want those questions. Again, it's just below where you're seeing us now. Just scroll down, give us his questions, and use the chat feature. We want to hear from everyone. And today's topic, we're going to talk about events in 2020, but also the focus is events in the future, or what we think events are going to look like in 2021 and beyond.
Yes, and we'll be having some special guests today that'll be joining us to give us some of their insights and how they think those events will changing and have changed.
But first, we're going to do a poll.
Oh, yes, we have a poll.
Yeah, I think so. Unless I jumped the gun on that. I think we're doing the poll because we've got the poll live here. So again, scroll down for where you can see us. And our poll question today is, when do you see large-scale events coming back? So you can go ahead and vote right now. But Tom, will ask you, when do you think large-scale events are coming back?
Well, so far I've been wrong almost every time I've guessed, but with the vaccines coming on and everybody I'm speaking to wanting to get back together live, I really think it's going to fall in that 3 to 6 months window before they're back heavily. And some of the large events I think will be out in 6 to 9, but I think we'll see live events back at the end of first quarter with just a little bit of luck. That's what I'm thinking.
Excellent. It looks like maybe the majority slightly disagrees with you there. So it looks like the most people think 6 to 9 months. Almost half of our respondents think, oh no. And then we've got a contingent that think 9 to 12 months. That's scary.
Yes, I really pray that it won't be 9 to 12, and I don't think it will be, just because, like I said, everybody I speak to, from my old farmer neighbor that just says he wants to go out and visit people, to people in the industry that want to get back together. And there is some light at the end of the tunnel that I hope is not a train this time. So whoever thinks it's more than a year, man, I really hope you're wrong, because that's depressing. But we shall all just have to wait together and see.
Absolutely. All right, so now let's get to our first guest.
So our first guest today is Tyler Mayne. He's the founder and CEO of Evolve Media. Evolve is one of our primary suppliers for cross-rented gear. They also do a great job of training, something Alford's always taken very seriously, and Tyler's group has some of the best training in the industry. They do production services, staging solutions, training, all those types of things. He's a great guy. I've had the opportunity to travel with him to some shows, and just a wonderful person to ask questions of. So, and he's a family man. So, Tyler, you're there with us?
Hey, Tom, what's going on?
Oh, same old. We're doing things remotely and not together. So,
well, and I hear there's a little bit of drinking sometimes that happens on the back porch. So I just wanted to say I've got my 2020 assistant here.
There is.
For doers. So salute.
We have a drinking question later.
Okay. All right.
So, my first question for you, though, is what's changed for you and Evolve over these last 9 months, and how have you all dealt with it?
Well, I mean, it's been difficult for all of us in the industry, especially on the dry hire side, because we support companies like Alford Media and others, and we really count on you guys being at capacity or over capacity for us to really spring into action and be in a position to assist when you're running low on gear and equipment. And around March 15th was really when the bottom fell out. And I remember I made some phone calls to some industry friends of mine, and I did the same group of guys the first week of March, the second week of March, and the third week of March. And it went from, well, we had a show cancel, but we're pretty confident, to the next week 50%, to the next week every single show has canceled. And we were there for a number of months, meaning our clients were, and many of you have shifted to virtual production studios. And that's not really an avenue that we can assist, because that's not the business that we're in. So we've had to completely rethink the way that we do business and adapt, because for those of us in the dry hire side, if this is going on for another year, we just have to be honest with ourselves and say that the landscape is going to really be thin. There's going to be a lot of less technicians out there in the field. I know many of them that have jobs in other careers, and I think that I do believe strongly with vaccines coming back, or vaccines being announced, that my prediction is Q2 will be a good quarter, and then going into the summer, fall, and beyond, the event side will I think come roaring back. But we're going to need a lot of horsepower to get back in the action, and everybody's kind of been on hiatus for a while. So what we kind of look at is how we're going to support that, which is going to be interesting. But also what I think is going to happen too is our industry is going to have a reckoning that I think was going to happen over the next 5 to 10 years, which is, I've been doing this now for 23 years. And from when I started in the early 90s to now, your basic corporate show follows the same theme. They essentially look the same, except the technology, of course, has evolved quite a bit. But what you see in other industries like theaters and arenas is, some of these arenas that opened in Vegas and LA are $3.5 billion arenas. When you go to a movie theater is more of an experience. It's you're sitting in a comfortable leather recliner. You can order a beer. You can order good food. Those industries had to adapt because they knew that the climate was going to change, or it was changing, but now it's completely stopped. So how do those industries get in the swing of things again? I think they can, but I think what the live events industry has to understand is that a change was going to come no matter what, because millennials are becoming more prevalent in the workforce, and behind them are Gen Z. Gen Z is, like my 7-year-old child is Gen Z, and he was born with an iPad. And we can't think that these kids are going to sit through a PowerPoint presentation for 3 hours and then go to a breakout session and go to a convention. They might, but what we're going to have to do is change and adapt. So what I think is really interesting coming out of this is I think our industry is going to come back full steam ahead, but it's never going to be the same. But I think that's a good thing, because I've really witnessed a change. I mean, I'm sitting here right now at a Topgolf, talking to you guys on a Zoom meeting, and after this, I'm going to go play some golf with my son. I've spent a lot of time out of the office, but I've been super productive because I use Zoom all day. So what does that look like when things are quote unquote back to normal? Are people less apt to travel? What does the climate look like? And I think the saying goes, everything changes, everything stays the same. We don't know exactly what the outcome is going to be, but we know that the world is going to be different for all of us in this industry coming out of it. And I think we can all agree that we've never been tested the way that we have over the last 9 months. So I think next year is going to be really interesting. I'm very bullish on it. And I think like most people, I'm ready to get through that tunnel and see where things lead.
Couldn't agree more. And, I've been in the business 40 years myself, or coming on 40 this next year. And the one thing we could always count on was change, but this is going to be quicker than almost ever, for sure. I know you're also, like a lot of us, a gear geek and always looking for new things and technologies. During the time down, have you seen any new emerging technologies that you think will play a bigger role as we come back, or we should all be looking at?
So there's two things that I've seen that have really blown my mind, and one of them is if there's going to be a huge opportunity for everybody in the virtual production realm. So if you think everybody's talking about XR stages right now, but really this all started with Mandalorian a couple years ago. Mandalorian was shot on an LED stage, and again, this was something that was going to happen over the next 5 or 6 years because the convenience of shooting with LED media servers and products like Unreal Engine makes the production, the film and television production, it's going to revolutionize it. And I was actually in Atlanta last week they call these things on a volume stage. And one of the things that I was really excited about when I left the stage is it looked exactly like a corporate show. There was a large LED wall. There were LED techs on the show. There were disguise operators. There were Unreal Engine operators. There was someone calling the production. And what I thought to myself is like, okay, if live events come back slowly, then there's a transition point for a lot of technicians and a lot of companies to move into this field, because I've been spending the last 6 months totally immersed in this market, and it's going to be a massive opportunity when things start, because the companies that are making the most money right now are Netflix, Amazon, Google, Apple, etc., and all of their content is being drained. So as soon as they can shoot again, this virtual production realm is going to explode. So we want to be at the forefront of that, and we want to help retrain our customers to pivot into that world. And we also want to help technicians to pivot that. So we actually announced a very large capital raise that we did last week to start this whole immersive brand that's going to be totally focusing on that. So point A is I find that, look, if anybody's watching Google Making a Mandalorian on YouTube, it's incredible. It's exactly what we do. It's their world merging with ours. The other thing that's really interesting too is, I was in LA a few weeks ago, and I was on an XR stage site, and there was a Grand MA controller there, and the lights were being focused and everything was moving around. And I asked the client, I said, well, where's the LD? And he goes, oh, he's controlling the show from his house. And another thing that I see a lot on LinkedIn is I see these freelancers that have these really incredible setups, and they're doing Zoom, they're managing Zoom meetings, and they're managing shows, and they're doing it remotely. And I think what we're realizing is a lot of the technology that we use, like analog consoles and lighting controllers, all those really are computers with a touch surface on it. So I think what's really interesting is moving production forward. Could a camera operator in the near future work from his or her home, operate an Alford media show going on in Dallas, and then in the afternoon they're operating another show for another customer that's happening in LA, and they never have to leave their house? That reality is happening now. But again, that timeline is only being shrunken by the situation that we're in. But what's interesting is all this technology is available now. Zoom 10 years ago, whatever version of that would have cost $1 million to do what we're doing now. Now it's free and it works perfectly. So it's interesting. And I think that it's probably the worst time for our industry, but it's also, I think, the best time to innovate and retool and move on into what's going to be a very different, but I think very fantastic future.
Well, thank you. I couldn't agree more. Out of any trouble comes opportunity, and we just have to be smart enough to figure out how to take advantage of it. I know during this downtime, we've done a lot of work with Unreal Engine and things like that because we've had the time and want to be prepared when we come back to be, even better. Well, you actually answered two of my other questions while you were talking there, so I'll skip them and I'll go to the last one, which is, what's your opinion? And you kind of gave it, but what do you think when live events will be back? You kind of told us how you think they'll be different.
Well, I like you, I've been wrong many times. I remember in March, I think we were all saying to ourselves, hey, I think by summertime there'll be some shows, and by fall we'll just be kicking butt again. Well, that didn't really happen. So I think, what we have to understand, what the good news is our economy has done pretty well, especially for the Fortune 500s that companies like Alford and others service. So I think the underlying economy is strong. There are vaccines coming that are going to start flowing out before the end of the year. And the other thing that we've seen too, especially in this country, is there's been an adoption, or people have adapted to the COVID virus. So one sad habit that I have that I do on a weekly basis is I'll pick a couple hotels in Orlando, and I will sadly walk the hallways and just see if anybody's loading in. And over the last few weeks, I've seen shows loading in. I saw a pretty decent sized one loading in the other day. And what they look like is you don't see 2,000 chairs crammed into a ballroom. You see maybe 500 spaced out, and then the rest of the meeting is live streamed. So I think if we can adapt and we can do kind of these hybrid meetings, then that allows us to engage with a real audience, but then bring people in from all over the world. And I think that is here to stay. So I think shows are going to move forward with that from now on. And I guess to answer your question, I feel like in Q2 of next year, we'll all be feeling very confident about the state of our industry. Going into summer and fall, I think we're back to quote unquote business as usual. But again, we need to, as an industry, learn from this, adapt, and really start to innovate. I feel like innovation in live events has stagnated for a while. And we can really use some of these tools that we've been learning in this year-long summer project to really innovate and be more efficient with the way that we service and support our live event customers.
Well, I couldn't agree with you more. Well, thank you so much for giving us some time and being with us. And I look forward to
Tom.
having that drink in person very, very, very soon. Didn't mind in a paper cup
Bring
today.
some cigars over as well.
Absolutely.
So thank you, guys.
Thank you, Tyler. Had a good time with the kids. Well, as always, Tyler had a lot of good input, and I'll be honest, there's really nothing I disagree with. I didn't even know what XR and VR, I knew what VR was, but XR until a few months ago. And we had done some LED stages for some shoots, which is not offered as normal, but we had done some for some commercial work and what have you. We'll do anything for a buck before COVID, and I do agree that will definitely be a trend. And I know for us, the hybrid work has been really our only larger shows since this has started. We're already seeing some bring some audience together live, but much smaller than we did, but then going out to thousands.
Right. Agreed. And for me, the biggest takeaway I have is when he was talking about the loss of talent. I do think that people are going to find a way, like he was saying, in television and film production. I think that is going to be one of our struggles, and that speaks to be more my position here at Alford. But I think that's going to be a big deal as people move to other industries, and when live events come back with a bang, we're going to struggle to fill those positions, I think.
And for all of you freelancers out there listening, we still plan on being the best place and the best company to work for. So when we get busy, and we will take our calls, and we'll get back to work. By the way, for those of you who don't know, Rachel has to book everybody for Alford Media, and we have actually encouraged people to take other jobs during this time because we don't expect anybody to sit and not work for a year. But we realize very much that's a two-edged sword. So that was great. Our next person up is one of our clients, Brian Rivers. He is the CEO of Centrifuge Media. He founded the company back in 2005. And Centrifuge is, like I said, a client of ours. They're a global strategic event communications agency. And they specialize in life sciences and pharma. I think most of the shows we've done with Brian have been definitely in the pharma area. They, as a company, they support the Me Fine Foundation Gala, which raises money to support children who are experiencing medical crisis. And that type of thing, I think most of y'all know mean a lot to Alford. We have supported Make-A-Wish here for, I think we did 20-something years, all but 1 year since it was founded in North Texas. So we very much appreciate that work. So Brian's with us now, and welcome, Brian. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Appreciate it, TA. I didn't realize the back porch had drinks on it, so I had to make a hustle and grab something out of the back. So Tyler spoke so long, I'm afraid I drank half of it, so I'm going to try to make it through.
Well, they tell me I get too funny when I drink too much, so I don't start until the middle of the show usually.
Fair enough.
But Brian's going to bring us some, kind of the client side of this mess we've all been in. And as we said earlier, out of difficult times come opportunities. And so, Brian, what opportunities are you seeing through this?
Yeah, I agree with a lot of what Tyler was mentioning. I think there's a lot of space for innovation right now. And I think ultimately, we've been learning to do things a lot differently. Pivoting and adapting has become much more the norm for us. I think that, when you look at the technologies that are out there, I agree there's a lot of exciting technologies. I think things around NDI and live call and things like that are great. I also feel like, it's making us think a little bit differently than we had before. So hybrid meetings are certainly something that has a different meaning to our clients as well. So, whether we're going to be doing things in a live studio here and it's going to be broadcasted out live or in different locations, I think we're just having to rethink a little bit about how we have done things and how we're going to do things in the future. I think it's exciting to look at that part of it as being a really cool, innovative spot for us to develop new skill sets. Certainly, I think people are utilizing different platforms, different ways. I know for Zoom is a great example where we've been using Zoom a little bit differently than we normally have, and I think it's interesting too. A lot of the platforms, we've become pretty agnostic once everything sort of came to a hilt in March, and we've really learned to become agnostic on platforms and provide what's going to be best for our clients' needs. So seeing them evolve, Zoom is another primary example of that. I think they're continually trying to evolve within the industry, service the needs of what we're trying to adapt to in the environment, if you will, as well as I think Cisco WebEx, being a customer of theirs for a long time. I think that they're sort of they led it for quite a while, and now they've got a pretty level playing field. So for the most part, I think there's a lot of room for innovation. I think it's going to be very interesting when we go back to a hybrid perspective, and then certainly the live events altogether. But I agree that it's probably 3 to 6 months off. I think Q2 is probably a good time frame. Hopefully, God willing, that'd be the best time frame for us, if not sooner. But all said and done, I think it's making us all prepare for what inevitably will be hopefully a very robust live meeting set in the future.
So here at Alford, we've had some new clients come in over this. People asking for new things that we hadn't dealt with in the past through either clients like yourself or coming to us directly. Have y'all experienced that? Some people coming in needing help that you just brand new to you, hadn't met before?
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's a great question, Tom. We have we've had what's been interesting is some clients that maybe we haven't worked with in a while. That have just relied on us for different things throughout the years. Sort of calling up and saying, "Look, I've got this thing going on, and I got to make sure that I get all these folks in from different countries, and how am I going to get them pinned on camera together?" And I got a panel. So, we've had a lot of different clients call that we haven't worked with in a while. We've had a couple new, I'd say more folks that, maybe have left the company and gone to a new company, very common in certainly in the life sciences industry. And, sort of bringing us along to a new company and saying, "Hey, look, I'm not quite sure what to do, but I know you guys can figure it out for us." So in that area, we've been lucky to sort of reconnect with some folks. Hopefully it continues to last when we go back to the live setting as well. So, again, it's the virtual environment is very unique, and certainly it's something that that's mostly what we've been doing since COVID is all 100% live events. We have done a couple where we were talking a little bit earlier, Tom, where we have had some broadcasted events from another location out to other areas of the country, but most of what we've been doing has been 100% virtual, in-house, and again, thinking a little bit differently and out of the box. It's that part's very exciting, and we've certainly been able to hone in on some different talents, and we're excited about that aspect. But again, live meetings are very much welcome when they come back into fruition. So
Yeah, in-person live meetings. 'Cause we're doing live now, but it's not the same.
Right.
For sure. I know we were as you said, talking earlier, about just the banner that goes on, in between the meeting portions and when people are out in the hall and things like that, just makes such a difference. And I think our clients are looking forward to that. I know I'm looking forward to doing it with you, where it's a drink we can talk about and actually taste together. So is there anything in particular you're really looking forward to other than the obvious, which is live meetings, in-person meetings coming back?
Yeah, I mean, just the fact that I think that because we've had to think a little bit differently, I'm very excited about what are we going to be able to do now that we've been able to be tested in different ways that we've never been tested before from a technological standpoint, and I think that it's going to bring about some different types of innovation that will ultimately help service our clients a little bit better, and there are certainly their needs. So, that part I think is very exciting. There's a lot of different things around technology itself. certainly Tyler hit a lot of different things that are, exciting from a movie perspective and around Netflix. And when we do start generating more content, that'll be, extremely exciting. But from the live meet setting, I, you know, ultimately, I think we're going to utilize different technologies, different on site,
Yeah.
and that's something that I'm probably the most excited about. And I think we'll have a bigger outreach as well, certainly for clients that are, across the sea, if you will. We do a lot international business during the year. Typically 40% of what we have done in the past in a year has been roughly overseas. So, people have not been able to make it. We certainly had better platforms for them to view, and certainly be much more engaging on as well. Yeah, engagement is another big factor that, I think we'll be much more proficient at in the future. Certainly when we go back to live events, as we've had to really kind of think outside the box from afar and try to make people connect and, get that emotional connection. We really focus a lot on the return on emotion and how that plays into people's learning. And I think that that's something I'm really looking forward to, how we can utilize what we've done here in the virtual environment, how we can bring that into the live setting, connect people in different rooms and things of that nature. So, it's a little bit repetitive, but I think ultimately it's exciting to see what we can do from what we've learned today, right? And I think the technology is going to continually evolve. I'll take a different stance than Tyler. I don't think that we find, I'll say, at least in our vertical, specifically in life sciences, that people are going to probably look at this as more of a solution. I think this is kind of a Band-Aid, and I think that ultimately for their business and their model, I think it's really important for them to have those in-person meetings. It's certainly vital for what they need to distribute from a content perspective, and as well as, just the camaraderie. I mean, from a sales force being on site together is super important, obviously, as we all know. I mean, we'd love to have a drink together, Tom. We get a lot accomplished in a half hour. I think in person, we probably do over the phone. So, I think that this has been an interesting trial period that will have some kind of a hybrid solution to events as we progress into the future. By no means do I personally think that it's going to be the solution, and people are going to go away from live meetings. And I bet, Tom, that you probably feel the same as I do.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for being with us and always for your support. We wouldn't exist if it wasn't for clients like Centrifuge and folks like you. So getting back where we're really doing live events with folks like yourself, it means everything to us. So
well, thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it. I'm psyched to be on the back porch, and this has been the most exciting meeting I've done all year.
Well, thank you.
Thanks, Tom.
Thanks, Brian.
Take care.
So, when he talks about live events coming back and not being replaced by Zoom or these platforms we're all working with, I think back to my dad and my grandfather, actually, but my father. They all thought that when television really came out, and in particular color television, that movies would be gone. There was actually a small town near us that was known for its theater, and they closed it down and turned it into a country and western store because movies were the thing of the past. They wouldn't exist. And obviously that wasn't true, but they did have to adapt. They had to give a better service. You just couldn't go in on a hard old wooden seat and people pay for it. And so I think we're going to have to do, as we always have, a better job. But Brian mentioned emotion.
Mm-hmm.
And
yep.
Usually when I get emotional on a Zoom meeting, it's a bad emotion so far. To get excited in front of a meeting, or there's our own company meeting that I'm attending or someone else's, it is something about being there live and seeing other people. And one of my smart-ass answers, by the way, on when will events be back, my main answer has been when all the bars are open. Because when you go to a meeting, I don't know about everybody else out there, but after the meeting's over, you go to the bar and you meet with people and you talk about what you just saw, what you heard. Did you believe it? Mm-hmm. Was it real? So that's kind of where we are. And I think Miss Rachel has another poll for us.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And for me, one of the thing is like after a Zoom meeting, it's the meeting after the meeting. So you call who you're closest to on that meeting, or maybe your boss, and you have like the meeting after the meeting where like the real thing actually happens, not like the big group of people. So yeah, we jokingly, call that the meeting after the meeting. All right, so we do have another poll. So again, just right below where you're viewing us now, just scroll down a little bit. So we want to know how many of your new events or how many of your events are with new clients. And we talked a little bit about new clients with us, people that we've never done business with, or they need us in a different way.
Yeah, we've had obviously a lot in a different way, but we've had quite a few that called and said, somebody said you could help us with, and it's mainly been that they needed something more than Zoom. They weren't getting enough engagement, and they needed some more engagement on a platform. It wasn't necessarily a new large live meeting client, but we hope that some of those will turn into that, once this is over, obviously. And they've been very successful.
Yeah, for sure. And I think also something that we noticed was they needed more than a Zoom event, but not quite a, $1,000 or 1,000-person platform, where they needed that in between, where kind of like our sweet spot is. And that's one of the reasons we created this virtual event space as well.
Event space, absolutely.
All right, so we do have some poll results. It looks like most people say that their new business is less than 25%. I think that's a little bit to be expected,
Yep.
but
I think 26 to 50%, 32% of the audience having some new clients in this terrible downtime is pretty impressive. And 9 to 10% of having more than 50% of to 75% saying new clients. I think that's a lot, because a lot of us, the hardest thing in the world is to find a new client. So I think that says a lot, and now it's all up to us to keep those clients. Well, now we have our third and final guest, and one I'm very excited to have on, and very proud that I get the opportunity to work for. It's Carrie Freeman Parsons. She's the chair of the Freeman Companies. The Freeman was founded in 1927. We had our 90th anniversary just a couple of years ago, which Alford was very proud to have a big hand in helping. She serves on lots of boards and leadership, and she too has a real heart for children. She is very passionate in particular about Girls Inc., Metropolitan Dallas, and she's, I think, currently chairman of the board for that group. And again, I think it's something everybody that's been with us so far has in common, that we use our work in the live events industry to help others, and in particular to help children. So welcome, Carrie.
Hi, Tom. It's good to see you.
So it's great to have you here. So my first question for you is kind of one we've had for everybody in some way, but since you are in charge of such a large group, and I will say one that's, I think, done an excellent job, but how have you handled 2020 so far, and what's been changing the most for you and for Freeman?
Well, it's been pretty brutal, I would say, honestly. I think in the spring when the event started canceling, it really felt like we were trying to catch a falling knife. We just didn't know how much and how fast. And Freeman's biggest quarter is April to June, through the end of June. And so we were expecting to finish our fiscal year strongly. And so, just to see literally, billions of dollars worth of revenue evaporate in a very short amount of time was really hard. And that having been said, once we sort of took responsibility for what we could control, then we were able to make those plans and go forward, and have been doing a lot of really good work during this. But I think Tyler called it the long summer project or something like that. We've been doing a lot of work with our clients accordingly, and doing some pivoting and cleaning house, and trying to make sure that we're really, really, really healthy when we come back.
That's a big and challenging job. And by the way, I just want to say, since I do work for you, I think the job the company has done could not have been done better. As you said, the changes for everybody came so fast, and when you're this big, it is a lot to grasp. And I know just for Alford, which is a very small part, something else. So that's kind of the downer of the year. But what are you most optimistic about as we look at events in the future?
Yeah, I think what I'm most optimistic about is and Tyler kind of referred to this in his comments about the rinse and repeat aspect of a lot of events. And a lot of the events that you're working on are very dynamic and very exciting. If you were to go to kind of a more typical trade show or a convention, I mean, a lot of them look very similar to what they've looked like for a really, really long time. Even general sessions, that type of thing, haven't necessarily been as dynamic as they could. And then, in addition to that, there hasn't necessarily been as much attention to who is attending, who should attend, who should be there live, who shouldn't be there live, who should be connecting in the coffee area. You know, what speakers should people really be seeing? What companies should they really be engaging with? And we've been advocating that as a business for a long time, that we needed to do a better job of creating experiences for attendees and for marketers, to make sure that it's worth getting on that plane and worth that experience, and not just sort of the same rinse and repeat that they had maybe experienced the year prior. And so, but it's very, very hard to make those changes when the bus is careening down the road 100 miles an hour. And so a lot of our clients were agreeing that that needed to be done, but maybe their events weren't that unhealthy yet, or they didn't feel like they had the resources, or it just felt too overwhelming, or they didn't really know how to go about it. So, what I'm optimistic about is that this is really providing an opportunity for clients to really think about what is going to be compelling for their communities, and using data and experience design accordingly. And the benefit of these virtual events, for instance, is you can see on the back end who was engaged, who was engaged, who paid attention, who got on email, who actually signed up and came versus who signed up and who didn't, who connected with other people. And that is exactly the notion of how do we do that in a live experience. So although I think events will likely maybe be smaller in the future, at least certainly for the coming years. I believe they'll be healthier, and I believe that when you have a healthier event, there's more to invest in those events, right? To continue to make them better and stronger. So, although it's been tough to go through this reset, I think a lot of really good groundwork is being done that's going to set us up to be successful and our clients to be successful on the back end of it.
I couldn't agree more. I think for all of us in this industry, I mean, this year to say is brutal as being like really nice. Um, but I will say one of the up things for me, I'm a very small part of a very large and healthy organization. And we're kind of, sometimes I think the high tech geeks over in the corner, or the guys that do, just the big corporate gig. And I've got the opportunity to speak with more of my Freeman, other salespeople and stuff. This reset, this like long summer project, than I think I have in all the years I've been here, and it's been 10 years now, been more than that. But anyway, a lot of people who, well, weren't really interested in digital, perhaps, or really interested in some of the high tech, all suddenly are. And I know the Freeman Digital team's been crazy busy trying to keep up, and I think that's going to make us all healthier. I agree wholeheartedly.
Yeah, I
Um,
agree.
so, if you have one main focus for 2021, let's forget 2020. It's
Please.
yeah, not a lot we can do there. And as you mentioned earlier, Freeman really kind of starts in June or July. June is the end of our year. So, what do you really is our main focus or your main focus for yourself coming up?
I I would say there are several areas of main focus. One of the ones that so we've been doing a lot of reengineering in our business, and this is more on the logistics side, the trade show side, where we've kind of going to a more asset light model, using our supply chain more effectively, figuring out how to serve markets without having so much overhead. I mean, what we've learned is we want to have less overhead so we can invest more in our people. And these are things that we have been talking about doing for a long time. How do we use technology to make us more efficient and more effective? And how do we think about artificial intelligence? And how do we think about those things? And so we've been doing a whole lot of work on that during this downturn. but we're not there yet. We're not done yet. And so the question is, once the pressure is off, will we still continue to push through and actually make this sort of a consistent way of working where we're constantly re-engineering in a much more efficient and effective way so that we're taking advantage of new technological developments and new markets and new opportunities. And so I think that's sort of, we don't want to be in this panic mode, and we're not panicked right now, but we don't want to be in sort of this just trying to keep the boulder pushing uphill until we get back to work. This isn't the steady state we want to be in, but once we get back to work, we also don't want to slip back into some of our old habits. And then the second thing that leads to is talent. And the analogy I would give is it's like your kid going off to college, and while they're away, the family totally remodeling the house and turning their bedroom into an office, and nothing is where it used to be, and that type of thing, and how kind of disconcerting that is. And we do have quite a lot of people who are out on furlough, and we intend to bring those folks back, and we want them to come back as soon as we can. But when they come back, it's going to feel very different. To your point, the sales teams who before didn't really need to get involved in digital and didn't need to get involved in all these. I mean, that's a core offering for all of our people now, and how we work and how the model is laid out. It's going to be different, and how that feels when people come back and their ability to step back into their role and to be productive and to feel like they're standing on solid ground. And then, so a lot of those things are changing. What isn't changing, of course, are our values and our culture and that type of thing. So it should still hopefully feel the same as it relates to the culture, but how people work and their adaptability to how we're going to work in the future, it's just going to continue to perpetuate.
Couldn't agree more. You're one of those people I know, like myself, that truly, when Carrie says she really cares about the people, and that's what makes the company run, she really means it. And I know for myself with our small company, having to furlough people, how difficult it's been. And I know how difficult it's been for Carrie, because it is someone, it's not just a decision that's made lightly. And we're all got the same focus, which is getting people back to work.
Right, no doubt.
And even here at Alford, Rachel is in charge of our personnel, and we're already looking at how we bring them back, because we've renamed positions. We have people called things that I didn't even know what they were in March, because we had to adapt to a new world. We have a new gear that has literally been renamed, and new services. Our internet services have had to change. It was one of those things that, we'll do it on a show. We really didn't care at March, and we see it as being a core piece of the business, probably for a long time, maybe forever. And I will tell you that I can promise the group here we'll do everything we can to help Greater Freeman keep changing and moving forward. So I can't thank you enough for being with us. I will finish with the last question. I already think you've answered it, but when do you think events will really be back for our group?
So we've been doing a lot of sentiment research, and about every 6 weeks or so since all this started, with organizers, attendees, marketers. And the good news is everybody says when it's time to come back, we're going to come back. When we were first doing these sentiment researches, research projects, every time the last time we did it, it stuck. And that was really late summer into fall. And so late summer into fall is sort of the sentiment research. It's really what our funnel is showing. So I think that there will be live events before the summer, but they won't be large events. I think the larger events aren't going to happen, unfortunately, until probably into the fall. And then those events will continue all events going forward are going to have a hybrid or digital component associated with it, which is, again, a growth opportunity for all of us. It's not going to be an either or, it's going to be a both and. So, I wish it was going to be sooner. And I think we will see some work this summer, but I will tell you as you mentioned, our fiscal year starts July 1. Our fiscal first quarter fiscal year, if it holds up, is going to be the biggest, first quarter that we've ever had, because there's so much pent up demand and so much businesses moved into the summer and into the fall. So, hopefully if the vaccines stick and if people feel comfortable gathering in large groups, that'll hold, and we'll get back to business in a big way, with incremental work happening between now and then.
Well, I hope that's true, and I think it is. So thank you so much for joining us. I know you're very busy.
My pleasure.
I wish all of our panelists and everybody a great Thanksgiving. So we'll see you soon, I hope. Thank you, Carrie.
Thank you.
So one of the things Carrie was, talking about the timing. One of the advantages Freeman does have is they do have one of the largest groups of people out there, especially when it comes to associations and trade shows. And the good news is they actually have these very large, forget my wording now, but surveys that they send out. And the one thing that has been consistent, and it's even my mini surveys, is that people really do want to get back together. They want to be face to face again. And so I think that as soon as people do feel safe and they do feel they can go out, I think we all may be struggling to keep up. And I really mean that and hope that. But the timing is we've all got to feel safe. And that's going to be a little bit different for each person. So do we have any Q&A we need to get to? Or
Yes, we do. Okay, so our first question from an anonymous person. TA, you talk to the people that control the budgets. How are they feeling?
Well, scared. I'm going to be honest. Budgets are really tough. There's two different things. One is the budgets within, like Alford, our budget. And obviously, we're not out buying a lot of new gear or hiring people right now. So from that standpoint, scared. On the other side, we have some shows coming up and ones that have been postponed. And I think Tyler or maybe as Brian mentioned, that the Fortune 500 is pretty healthy. We have quite a few clients that are really talking about real budgets for shows. It's just a matter of timing. And one of the things that's given me cause for hope with those budgets is they keep using the word postponed, not canceled. A lot of our larger events. And we actually will do our first trade show / event in February that postponed out of January, and they say it will go on, and it is a trade show that has a component that Alford does. So I think that speaks very well. But budgets are scary right now because we're all in a wait and see. And we've done this before. 2008, 2009 was not a great time to be out spending a lot of money, right after 9/11. But it wasn't like this. We knew more of when it was, from historically speaking, when it would be over, and we weren't waiting on science, so to speak, to get us back to work. So budgets are scary, but they're still out there. We have a lot of support and companies like Evolve and Brian and his group. They've kept people together, and a lot of our clients have, and so that's a good part of the budget.
Yeah, excellent. All right, our second question, again from Anonymous. Are there any plans to have a better communication system between a virtual producer and the host IFB?
Boy, technical questions for Tom.
Yeah.
This I will say right off the bat, not my forte. I will say they've improved dramatically since we started this, and it's one of those, if Anonymous wants to send an email, I'll get somebody to answer really well. But with our digital comm systems, we've actually sent technicians to Washington just to deal with digital comm over a large system that was going out over the internet, and then had somebody else out in California for a very large, diverse virtual event. And the audio portion for Q&A seems to be working very well. They seem to be able to integrate our digital comm systems with other systems that I don't know how they work, but very well. So I think it's one of the things we've learned out of this is how to do that much better.
Yeah. So now we will go to our final poll. So what is your favorite holiday drink? So again, just scroll down a little bit. The poll is right under where you're seeing us right now. And we've had an anonymous question that that links to this. What's a good bourbon for my back porch?
Good. It's the one they're bringing me.
Okay.
So we have some bourbons here.
Yeah, we did not rehearse this part, so we have.
Totally non-rehearsed. And I think one of the reasons this came up is when we were rehearsing, I was asked what my favorite holiday drink was. And I said, my favorite holiday drink is pretty much the same as my non-holiday drink, which is a quality bourbon. And quality, by the way, does not have to be pricey. Good old Jack Daniels is not bad. I'll give him a plug. But a good bourbon or a good scotch, if it's at the right time of day with a good cigar, is even better. But most importantly is one that's shared with good friends and good compatriots. So that's me 12 months a year.
Yeah.
I will drink eggnog, which is like eating once a year. So choked you up on
I know, just a little bit. All right, so our fabulous crew has supplied us with 4 bourbons for us to try. So
a lot of pressure.
I know, right? That's why I got being put on the spot. So I've got 2 specific questions, but I'll let you try them all first.
By the way, the only really bad bourbon is no bourbon when you need some. So,
All right. And y'all tell us in the poll, what is your favorite holiday drink? When we were talking earlier, I was saying that that mine is peppermint mocha, but I drink it all year long. So it doesn't matter if it's holiday time. Like, I'm the girl at Starbucks that will order a peppermint mocha in July. Like, that's me. I can't really say I have a special alcoholic holiday drink. That's not a thing. So where are you?
just any alcohol is good with you on holiday?
Yes, exactly.
I've tried 1 and 2.
Okay. Any
Since
thoughts
I have
so
no
far?
idea.
I know.
2 was smoother than 1, but 1 had more flavor to me so far. So
I feel like I'm the amateur here, though, too. Like, I don't know. Like, they all taste like alcohol.
some of the people watching me drink very expensive booze. I don't, unless somebody else wants to buy it for me, in which case I'm more than happy to. I will say on the cheap liquor, it has to cost more than $15 or it's going to be terrible.
Well,
Do
okay,
you ever drink bourbon?
I do, but not like in this.
Form?
Yeah, not like where I have to like talk about how it tastes and things like that. Like, I already feel more giggly now. So here we are, everyone.
Well, having peach iced tea in between boozes is probably not the best way to cleanse one's palate.
That's true. All right. Do we want to go to our poll? Oh, the questions. We've got questions. Yes. So which one do you think is the most expensive?
Man, 4 in a row really quick.
Yeah.
I actually think number 4.
I think so. Four tasted the best to me. So.
It had flavor and was
Yeah.
smooth.
And then, which is your favorite? Which I think I just answered. I'm going to go with 4 again.
As weird as this is, I liked number 1.
Mm-hmm.
It had a lot of flavor, but it was a bit on the, to me, it was a slightly harsh, but had a lot of flavor. 2 and 4 seemed to be smoother.
Mm.
And 3 was good. None of them were terrible.
No.
So I don't think there was any, bottles that have old birds on them, ravens on them, or anything in these glasses. I didn't want to name a name brand on a public site here, but I think everybody knows that if they drink bourbon, they know what I'm talking about.
Right. Okay, so we talked about them differently. So actually, number.
There's no numbers; they're just in order.
Oh no, the bottom of the cups have numbers.
Oh, there is a 4 down there.
Okay, so number 4 was Weller Special Reserve.
And I am a Weller fan.
Okay, good.
And I actually, and the person who served this, Pat Reed, who's in the background here, he happens to know that I actually prefer Weller Special Reserve over Weller Antique, which is much more expensive.
Oh.
Unless you let a little ice melt in it.
Right.
I find the Antique a little bit, might take chrome off a bumper hitch.
Oh no.
Stout.
I don't think that's how I would want my bourbon.
With a cube
Described.
of ice, the Antique
Then it's
has a lot
good.
of flavor.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so number 3 is Black Ridge Special Reserve Port Barrel. Do any of those words mean anything to you?
Well, Port Barrel does. It's not one I'm familiar with.
Okay.
That was the second one I said that had a lot of flavor, but I didn't find it quite as smooth as number 4.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Me.
And then number 2, Evan Williams.
That's a good straight ahead bourbon to have. Not expensive, but to me is like a Jack Daniel's type, really well made bourbon.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And then any guesses on the number 1? Based on the other?
Well, I said it was most flavorful, so I really don't. Was it Blanton?
It's Blanton's, yeah.
Again, I know the person serving us, that's one of their favorites.
Yeah.
It's the most flavorful of the 4.
Yeah.
But I actually found number 4 to be slightly smoother, which the Blanton
was
guys would
interesting.
probably beat me up for.
I know. If you're watching, don't. Oh, okay. So, thank you all for giving us all your answers in the polls and chatting with us in the
Did
chat.
we get to see
today.
what any of their favorite drinks were, or did we skip that?
We don't. Well, I saw it for a
We started
second.
drinking.
Yeah, it was up there for a moment, and then now it's not. But I'm not sure.
Well,
if
never
we-
go backwards. So
Yeah. Oh, here we
there
go.
you go.
Here we go. So your favorite holiday drink, Blanton's, lots and lots of Blanton's, eggnog and brandy. The one in my hand, anything
her
over
favorite.
5%. Pumpkin spice Bailey's, Irish coffee. I'm gonna think that's single malt
Down below it,
Scotch.
looks like it.
Yeah.
And I will say, during the winter, Irish coffee is a really good drink when you're sitting outside and it's really cold. We do lots of fires at the farm. We solve a lot of the world's problems sitting around a fireplace. And an Irish coffee is a good way to go sometime for me. And by the way, if you want to buy me Blanton's or any of these, I'm happy to drink them. I'm probably going to buy Evan Williams and what was number 4 I'm drinking?
Weller.
Wellers. Those are
Special
two that
Reserve.
I do like to buy. So you said we have a
So yeah, so this
experience.
this is it. We're at the end. Thank you all for your questions. So we definitely want to hear what you have to say about our virtual event space. We want to know, did you like the polls? Did you like the chats? So right now there's a survey. Just scroll down a little bit one more time and let us know all your experiences today, how it went. We just really, really appreciate your feedback. And we want to say happy Thanksgiving. And then Tom?
Yeah, I want to say happy Thanksgiving to everybody too. I know this Thanksgiving will be different for many, many people. No matter where you are, how small or large your gathering, I just hope that you and your family are blessed and are healthy. I think that's most important for everybody. We have an unusual holiday season coming up, and I really hope that all of y'all can. Holidays can be hard for a lot of folks under normal conditions, and so under these trying conditions, I hope everybody will take time to reach out, even if it has to be virtually or on the phone, to folks and let everybody know they're being thought about. I know for all the people that presented today, myself, Carrie, people that are out on furlough, our heart is really out there, and we really want to have the best holiday season that's possible. And so we truly, from the bottom of our hearts, wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving. Have fun out there. If you get time to come out and visit us on the farm, anytime you want to call me, I'll do everything I can to make myself available. I want to thank everybody for taking time to spend with us here on this Friday afternoon before the Thanksgiving holiday. So I'm gonna have to change drinks because I finished that, and I'll go to Blanton's here. So I just want to say to everybody, have the great holidays. We want to God bless you in everything you do, and thanks for being here with us. We'll see you on the next Back Porch.